Aloha everybody, Zach Evnesh here from STRONGCast, undergroundstrength.tv, busting out a standing video because sitting is the new smoking and that shit does kill my back. Welcome to STRONGCast. I believe this is episode 8 and this is the first time doing an introduction before we bust out our interview with Tony Blauer, who is founder of Blauer Combatives and also now running the course CrossFit Defense Course. And a real interesting course, a lot of stuff near and dear to my heart. Some of you that have been following me for a long time may have heard of my stories of when I got my ass kicked back in high school and got jumped by a large group of people. And I also get into a couple other stories about what really inspired me and motivated me on a real deep level to seek out knowledge in the world of quote-unquote self-defense. And what I'm going to be doing now, starting off these STRONGcasts, is I'll be answering some questions. This allows me to get back to you guys beyond just answering through YouTube and through the blog. So if you're on iTunes, this allows you to listen in on a different level. And I'm going to answer questions on basically anything that you guys ask. Love it, obviously, if it's training stuff, but these are going to be training and business. And let's see what we got here. This question, coming from Ryan Willis, sent this to me through the fan page. The fan page is zacksfanpage.com, Z-A-C-H-S, fanpage.com. And let's see what Ryan says. He says, aloha, and that's why I said aloha. I saw your Facebook post earlier today asking what questions do you have for me. My question is, what's the best way to get into training high school athletes? I'm super interested in this because I saw your piece on the CrossFit Journal about taking those kids off the streets and starting them on your training program through the garage. Also, when I was in high school, there was a mediocre strength and conditioning program. After high school, I came across CrossFit and weightlifting, and it changed my life. I'm graduating college in 1 month. I've got my CrossFit level 1 and have some coaching experience of just under a year. What suggestions do you have on how to get into training high school athletes? So, love this question. Certainly near and dear to my heart. Number one, what I really want to talk about is not trying to jump the gun. You know, you may have a CrossFit level 1 certification or a certification elsewhere, but if you're a young guy, why don't you just go and get heavy-duty experience and become an intern at maybe a CrossFit gym? Hopefully it's a CrossFit gym that you train at. Be willing and ready to work for free, and from there, you'll have a place to train from, and maybe you can help with their athlete strength and conditioning program and be an intern with that program. And then as well, what you could do is start connecting with some of the local schools. That is not always the easiest way, unfortunately, connecting with local schools. And the big mistake that coaches and aspiring coaches make is they immediately try to connect with the football teams. And if you're a football coach watching this and you've got a good heart and you're a forward-thinking person, no offense to you, but most football coaches have got egos, the size of California. They just got such egos that even if they have a shitty strength conditioning program, God forbid, they'd rather be struck by lightning than to allow somebody else to train their team. And a lot of those coaches bring incoming freshmen in, and they have those kids doing deadlifts, power cleans, and those deadlifts and power cleans actually look like death-defying stunts. Anyway, back to the question. What's the best way for you to help with some of these high school teams? Number one, intern at a local strength and conditioning place or CrossFit, wherever is in your heart. If you say CrossFit changed your life, then stick with CrossFit. Number two, go connect with teams, preferably club teams, and volunteer your time with them as well. You don't have to volunteer with the entire school, but you could start volunteering with a team, preferably a team that doesn't get a lot of attention, such as the track and field team, the cross-country team, the girls basketball, the girls volleyball team. The people that tend to run the weight room tend to be the football coach. So you want to go outside of those areas. That would be one way. Number two, if you're interning inside a strength conditioning facility, such as a CrossFit, many CrossFit places train adults, and those adults oftentimes have kids, or they have friends that have kids. So what I would do is I would open up, see if the coach at the CrossFit facility is willing to do a 6 to 8 week pilot course, preferably 8 weeks of training high school athletes, maybe open it up 2 to 3 times a week, and that would be a great way to start working with them. You produce results for those kids will start telling other kids. I know that, some people, I think they see a lot of my information all over YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So their immediate question to me is, what is the marketing that I could use? Well, I'm going to always go back to what Greg Glassman says, which is pursue excellence. When you get awesome and amazing results for people, it's hard for those people not to tell others. In fact, their simple physical appearance and performance will be the message to others that, hey, this is what happens when you train with Ryan. You train with Ryan, you're going to get jacked, you're going to get strong, explosive, mentally tough, and you're going to dominate other people. And that is what you want to do. It's very tough when you're training high school athletes in one respect, because sometimes the parents don't want to tell other parents about what their son or daughter is doing, because they're afraid that other kids will now gain that edge, gain that advantage. And number two, athletes are not super consistent. They're very fickle for many reasons. They're dependent on their parents for transportation and for money. They could get, basically the whip could get cracked on them by their athletic coach, who might say, you know what? We are now, or I am now doing the strength and conditioning, not John Smith over there at CrossFit, Kalamazoo. And what happens is you have athletes come and go, which is why I've expanded the Underground Strength Gym to start training adults, because most adults are more consistent, they're more reliable, and young kids today have just 1,000,001 distractions. And like I said, unfortunately, if you're not in the school, even when you are in the school, that doesn't always guarantee it. But I don't want to deter you. I want to say this. Training young athletes is extremely important. It could be a life-changing opportunity for them. So when you do it, I want you to look at training athletes beyond getting them physically, that developing physical prowess, but also developing and learning life lessons. So what they learn from you can help take them to the next level. Okay? And if you're in California, I'm heading out to California, San Diego area for the Underground Strength Coach certification. Dude, this is something that you definitely need to get to, because when you go through the certification, you don't only learn our training system, but you understand the methods behind it. So it's not just, hey, do these workouts. You understand the methods, so you could utilize them on your own. That's number one. Number two, you get put inside an Underground Strength Coach mastermind group, a private forum, where you could communicate with other certified Underground Strength coaches from around the world. And many of them were in your shoes, and they've got this experience of how they went from zero to starting their own warehouse gym or working at another place. Not everybody that attends the cert wants to be an entrepreneur, a self-owned strength conditioning coach. What you've got to focus on is really what Coach Glassman says, the pursuit of excellence. And I think that a lot of stuff will take care of itself when you start pursuing excellence. Speaking of the Underground Strength Coach cert, I will be at CrossFit Gamma on, let's take a look here on the board, February 8th and 9th. That is the CrossFit facility that is owned by Big Mike Jenkins, World's Strongest Man competitor. I believe he's also the winner of Arnold's World's Strongest Man at the Arnold Sports Festival. Then, actually the following month, March 1st and 2nd, I'll be at Elliot Holst's Strength Camp Challenge down in Florida. And March 2nd, I will do a one-day Underground Strength Coach, and it's kind of an intensive, just getting a lot of work done in that one day. Elliot will be there guest speaking, as well as Corey Knowles, former Navy SEAL. That's going to be a one-day cert. And then the following weekend, I'll be in San Diego. That's March 8th and 9th at CrossFit SoCal. and I'm pumped up for that. AJ Roberts, who runs the CrossFit powerlifting course, or one of the coaches that runs it, he's a good friend of mine and was a long-time lifter at Westside Barbell and was a world record holder. He'll be there helping out, so going to be a lot of amazing opportunities at all the certifications. So Ryan, get to a certification. Those of you listening, go to undergroundstrength.org, and when you scroll to the bottom, there's different links to sign up for the different dates. All right, hope you guys enjoy this next episode of STRONGCast with Tony Blauer. We're going to be talking about how you need to be aware of shit that just goes on out and about in the real world. That's number one. Number two, we're going to be talking about some of the physical and mental aspects. As you could hear some dumb knucklehead using his leaf blower outside my underground office, talking about the physical and mental aspects that need to be addressed with actually not as serious as you would think, but you need to have certain physical and mental things in place to make sure you can take care of yourself and or your family. And love to ask this question, talking about what are some of the most important lessons that Tony has learned through being a business owner that helps him be a better person, whether it's with business, whether it's with family, and just every day going about. So enjoy it, guys. For more info, go to undergroundstrength.tv. You can watch it on YouTube, and if you're on iTunes, please leave a review and share this with your friends, because I'm trying to spread the word. And much respect for watching, and I hope to see you guys at a future Underground Strength Coach experience. All right, dudes, enjoy it. Peace out, you crazy kids. What's going on, you crazy kids? Zach Evanesh here with my boy Tony Blauer, CrossFit Defense, and TonyBlauer.com. And we're going to be talking life. We're going to be talking reality, things that are going on out in the streets, and what we need to be prepared for. We'll also be talking about CrossFit. We'll be talking about fitness. We'll be talking about life, traveling like a madman, and how you still get shit done. So thanks everybody for tuning in for STRONGCast. I believe this is episode 8. And more details, just check us out on iTunes or go to undergroundstrength.tv. We appreciate everybody spreading the word. And, of course, any questions or comments, just hit me up through Twitter or my Facebook fan page. But the easiest way is definitely go to the blog. And that's it, man. Let's rock this out. Tony B, what's going on, bro?
How you doing, man?
Everything is great. So what time do we got over there? 8 a.m. on the left coast. And a lot of interesting things going on, because when I contacted you a couple weeks ago, we started chatting about trying to set up a STRONGCast. And I'm actually not a news watcher. I don't sign on to the computer and start looking at Google News or Yahoo News or any of that stuff, but my wife does. And my wife starts mentioning to me, as well as a lot of people all over Twitter, about some stuff going on. That knockout game is going on, and as of recent, I think the most recent knockout to get onto the news was I think like a 78-year-old grandmother. So I don't know, just a lot of things that I'd love to talk about, but I do get fired up when I see that, you know, people are doing some crazy shit out there, and I feel like we just need to be prepared. We need to be ready. So talk to us about, I guess in a nutshell, I want to jump right into things. What do you think of what's going on with, I guess, safety in general out in public in this knockout game, and how we need to be prepared for these kind of things?
Yeah, it's you know, that sort of shit's always gone on. You know, gangs, hooligans running around. I mean, it was in the news a little bit, maybe 10, 12 years ago. You know, it was a random event. The problem with smartphones and, you know, part of some of the cultural stuff these days is it goes viral, and it's propagating really fast. So it's become, you know, like, hey, let's get in the excuse me, let's get in the news. And so yeah, disturbing, disgusting, because they're not targeting other people in a pub, you know, in a bar, you know, people out on a Friday night. It's just truly innocent people. And if you've seen any of the videos, men, women just walking to work, walking home to see their families, and they're getting hit really, really hard. So, there's like for me, Zach, it's, teaching self-defense for over 30 years, it pushes my buttons. But there's a lot I want to say, and it depends where you want to focus and what you want to stay on track with, because, there's all these blogs on, oh, that's why you should carry a gun. Hey, in a sucker punch, you don't get to get your gun out. Like you're walking by, I'm walking by like this, boom, and a shot hits me here. You're not, it doesn't matter if you concealed carry. People don't understand the element of it and all of the dynamics. So you get these blogs on which martial art is best or which gun is best, and really what we need to tell people is you need situational awareness. You need the same fucking awareness that you bring to standing on a sidewalk about to step off the sidewalk to cross the street. Are you looking both ways? Are you aware of speeding cars? Are your senses tuned into, hey, that sounds like a car traveling too fast? Those are brakes screeching. Why are those people, why is their body language weird? What's going on there? So it's developing a what's wrong with this picture mindset. But the world walks around like this, Zach, now, right?
Yep.
And so what happens is we're so used to, we all got bad necks, texting like this instead of texting like this. But the reality is that even when people are walking without a phone in their hand, they don't have situational awareness. They're late. They're worried about their next appointment. They're thinking about dinner. And what you need to do is again, I use the example. This isn't about being paranoid. This isn't like, the sky is falling and holy shit, we got to walk around like armed in gangs. What we need to do is just be situationally aware, and develop what's wrong, with this picture, mindset. And from the self-defense perspective, I tell people self-defense is a behavior. It's not a technique. And that's really what I want to, share. And I could give some tips. I don't know how deep you want to go into this. I just wrote a blog on the concept. If people go to my blog, TonyBlauerblog.com, there's a bunch of thoughts on getting off the X. What would it cost you if you don't fight back? And then specifically something on the knockout game, our recent blog called, I think I called it, knock yourself out, asshole. Yeah. meaning knock yourself out. Like go sucker punch yourself. Don't sucker punch an innocent person.
So, when my wife was like, "Oh, these things are going on," and we went to New York City the other day, she was extremely paranoid. But years and years ago, I think I may have seen it when I was even a teenager. They were showing on one of those scariest videos. They were showing kind of like a similar situation like this. There was kids driving around in their car, shooting people with their paint guns pretty hard. I think it may have been, I'm not sure where it was. Then they did show something happen in L.A. where there was kind of a bunch of thugs out and they just knocked out an innocent bystander, but they recorded everything. And they're so stupid, they somehow leaked the video, and that's how these guys got caught. So what are some things... And the reason why I like getting into this, I want to give some background to people, is I've spoken about this with you before, but years ago, when I was a teacher, I actually had a problem with a student, and then that became a problem with the parent, and I never was so paranoid in my life, because it was, there was all these the kid had put his hands on me. He was a pretty big kid. When I had mentioned to the principal, I said, "Listen, man, I don't trust that kid. I think he's going to show up with a gun." And they just blew everything off. Nobody took it serious, and that bothered me. And then, of course, knowing kind of some of the past history of his father and how his father had been involved in a lot of street fighting, I was so paranoid. I remember buying any product at the time that had to do with reality type self-defense, reality fighting. This was the year, this may have been 2000 or 2001, so the internet was a totally different beast, but I was fucking paranoid, losing sleep over that shit. And because of that time, I'm actually really grateful, because now I pay attention to a lot of things. When I walk in the streets, I'm very aware of who's behind me, who's to my left, who's to my right. I'm like looking in the windows to see the reflection of people across the street, if anybody's following me. I know to some people I think that would sound crazy, but as a parent and just being with my wife, now I take it serious, and I think that's also why I take my training to a different level of always like be prepared for that shit, because at your annual combatives event, I told the story about when I got jumped and I wasn't prepared. I knew how to wrestle and I didn't know how to throw a punch. So those things have kind of just gotten my head into a different space and taken this a little bit more seriously, I think, than the average person. Let's talk number one about, what are some things, maybe 3 or 4 critical things that people need to be psychologically aware about in their surroundings when they're just out and about every day.
Sure. So, one of the things that I tell people is, first of all, what's amazing is it was one of our T-shirts years ago, and it was the slogan on it was "Experience is something you get shortly after you need it." And so you had a couple of experiences, Zach, that made you realize this was important. So in my latest blog, I talk about the reticular cortex as a part of your brain that when you decide, in layperson's terms, you switch it on. When you decide something is important to you, suddenly your brain develops a different heightened alertness or awareness for that. So like the day you and the wife decided, you know what, honey, we're moving out of this rental and we're going to buy our first house. That day you suddenly noticed every house that was for sale. Like you turned on, if you're getting a new car, you go, I'm thinking about this car. And then the day you decide that that's the car you want, you start noticing them all over. Oh, there's one. Oh, there's one. Do I want that car? Because everyone seems to be driving it. Well, those cars were there the day before, and the house that was for sale was there the day before, but your brain hadn't decided this is important. So this is neat to tell people. And like I said, I wrote about it because a lot of people have this myth that you need specific tactical training or some specific technique to defend yourself, and you don't fucking need any of that. What you need is to decide you're going to protect yourself and your family. That's where it starts, with indignation. The fuel for the fight is indignation. It's not anger. It's a how dare you? How dare you fucking encroach on my personal space and put my life or my family in jeopardy? And that's what people need. And everybody who defends himself found that element of indignation. So in terms of specific tips, people need to manage fear. In a short podcast like this, we can't go into so much the psychology of fear. But I tell you this: if you can bypass it by accessing indignation, just do it, just go for it. But you need to decide and think about this in advance. And I don't want to feel like I'm shamelessly plugging the blogs, but words are ideas, and ideas make you think, and thinking makes you stronger. So people need to check out on that. In specific goals right now when you're walking around, I'll tell you this. What you see gangs, and you see the lone pedestrian who's walking somewhere. So if you don't want to play the game, the knockout game, don't be the lone pedestrian. You're leaving work, walk with some friends. I mean, I always tell people, and you've heard me say this at my combatives camps and seminars, what will it cost you in U.S. currency to do this or to do this? Most of the time my tips are, they cost you a zip. Right? You use the term pay attention. That was the theme of a recent article where I said, well, how much would you pay to be safer? What if I told you it was free? Just pay attention. Because you can't, the term we use is get off the X. So the X is like a military term of, the ambush, getting off the X. Get to the left of the ambush. So if the ambush is happening here, how do I pick up pre-contact cues? If you can't see how something might unfold, if there's no awareness, there's no chance. So what we need for people is they've got to have much better awareness. Get off your phone, approach walking the way you approach driving, right? If you're texting while you're driving, you're going to have an accident one day, or you're going to cause one. And so if you're putting on your lipstick, if you're just listening to the radio, when shit happens, it's usually when someone's driving along and then they reach down to change a channel. It's a lack of awareness. And so specifically if you're in a big city, I mean, the first pre-contact cue, and your joke I make a lot in my seminars, is this isn't frickin' Star Trek. The bad guy doesn't beam down right here choking me. And I'm like going, oh, Spock, you know, get him off me. It's you know, there's a pre-contact cue. Oh, there's 6 or 7 people walking towards me. I'm alone. I should notice that. The gang can't get close to you without you noticing that. So you can change your pace, you can change your angle, you can stop where you are. But the easiest thing is don't be the lone pedestrian. And so if you know you're walking through like a little tunnel. I was in New York too recently, and I was cutting back, walking to my sister's place, and one of the, I don't know the area, and I turned this corner to go, and suddenly there's this like 100-yard tunnel, with the spotlights from the old Exorcist movie, like really spooky shit. And, I was, chatting and taking pictures, and, it was getting dusk, and I turned this tunnel, and New York's typically very busy, and like there's nobody there. And suddenly, like I was just walking like this, and all of a sudden I stopped there, and I'm like, I put my phone in my pocket, and I said, is this the tunnel I need to go through? Right? So I tell people, like, so many people get mugged near ATMs. So I would say to them, hey, you need to ask yourself before you go to that ATM, is this the best ATM to go to right now? Right? Are there people around here, people milling about? Or is there like some, dude smoking a cigarette in the shadows over there? People don't even notice that. They're like, oh, I'm going to be late for my movie. Anyways, a lot of it is about asking yourself, before I move into the kill zone, the ambush, is this the best tunnel to walk through? What do I need to be thinking about as I walk through this? And it's just situationally aware, no different, because people, you made the joke, people think you're crazy or paranoid, is if you're driving somewhere and, you're coming up off that, turn to get onto the highway, and all of a sudden you notice lights to the left backed up, and you suddenly realize, shit, that was close. You've had that happen, right? Where you see there's this massive traffic jam, and you go, shit, there must have been an accident. Oh, I know a secondary route. That's what self-defense is. It's noticing that shit way in advance, so you're not one of those people sitting there gridlocked.
Yeah.
Those are, a couple ideas. I got a ton more. It depends.
So, people being aware, this is it's number one, like just having your shit together. Number two, I think the toughest thing is what you spoke about is the fear management, because in New York City and in those surrounding boroughs, acts of violence happen out in public, and it's amazing how other people don't try to stop. For example, a couple months ago, there was that person that like ran through the subway, pushed somebody out onto the railroad tracks, and the person just ran. And there's hundreds of people there. Nobody tried to stop her. And I remember years ago, my family, some of my family lives in the boroughs of New York, and I remember my cousin was like robbed at knife point by other girls. She's a girl. She was robbed by like a bunch of girls, and they made her like take off the jewelry, and she was like out front of like a club. And she was like freaking out, screaming for people to stop them, and nobody stopped them. Like they're just like everybody knows that this shit could happen, but when it does happen, they're in such shock. And like I said, I've been there before. I'll never forget like getting my ass kicked because I was in shock, thinking, oh, I'm gonna fight this guy one-on-one, and then it was like another 8 to 10, 8 to 12 guys helped him, and I was in shock, thinking, oh, they're just going to watch me fight this guy versus they're all going to help him. I want to talk, being in shock, I want to talk about, I'm assuming, to be honest with you, that these people that are in shock, that are frozen, they're just not used to, I feel like, facing any kind of adversity, even through like things such as training. Like CrossFit trains you I feel, to be mentally tough, not just to be fit. And I just feel like it's this society that we're in, that it's like there's those that are scared and those that are just like, they take their fear, harness it, and they're like, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. What do you say to some people that have ever been like caught in that like frozen situation? And I have a funny feeling, because I know you work with military and law enforcement, that even trained military and law enforcement have had some form of like freezing. What do you say to them?
Yeah, there's nothing to say post. I mean, there's lots of things to say, but once the fight is over, I tell people the only real fight is a fight you haven't had yet. You can't look back and So one of our maxims, we're talking, philosophically. I'll ask people: are you training for your last fight? Or are you training for your next fight? And most people are training for their last fight. If you lost your last fight, how often do you think about, when you're working out, getting yourself fired up, and you've talked about it 2 or 3 references today, the time you got your ass kicked, right?
I think about that shit all the time.
But really what you need to be thinking about is your next fight. That already happened.
That was 1992, by the way.
There you go. You have
21 years ago.
PTSD. Zach, you have PTSD. Lie down. Tell me about your, But there's a great example. Like, you think about your last fight as opposed to your next fight. You need to rework that in your mind. What would I do this time? How would I handle a gang? What would have happened if as this started, you had just determined the rules, to the fight. And I'll give you a great example. And I need to think about whether I want to talk about this on the air. I don't want to create vigilantes, but I had it's a good example. I had a student of mine, this guy, Gary, who, and this is back in the early 80s, and he was obsessed with doing the splits and kicking high. And I told him something that the great Benny the Jet Urquidez told me when I first met him in 1980. He said, we were just talking about muscle memory principles and training and reflexes and stimulus response concepts. And he said, what you practice is what you'll do. What you'll practice is what you'll do. True. And I always shared that every time I taught. And I was watching Gary. We're doing some training at the gym. We're all hitting bags. We're moving around. And what I used to do with my students, I would give them these target and movement drills that developed this spontaneity. And we were way out of the box in the 80s and 90s. I would tell him, like, if I called, shin kick, he would very often kick to the gut or to the sternum or to the head, because in his mind, he was back here hoping I called a high kick because he was working on the splits all the time. And I used to say to him, you see that? You were so far from the target I called because you were already thinking about your favorite move. And I would tell people, your favorite move might trigger my best counter. And the more dangerous guy in the fight is the counter fighter, the person who's watching and thinking. But the counter fighter is, and this is like a CrossFit philosophy, is the counter fighter is prepared for the unknown and the unknowable. In other words, his training focus is more 360 degrees. It's not linear. It's not like sniper sharp. It's this totality approach because he's the counter fighter. So he's got to embrace the attack, and then he's got to make an angle happen. And so, get to the point of the story. I'm berating Gary nicely as a coach. It wasn't that nice. I was berating him. I'm going, listen, man, you're going to get your fucking ass kicked if you do that. There's going to be a time when you need to kick someone in the ankle. You're in a close quarter like this, and the only, he's on your throat and you're on his hair, and the only thing that's going to be open is his ankle, and boom, you got to fire a shot down this low to somebody's foot as a distraction, and all your muscle memory's up trying to kick the head. It's going to screw you up, buddy. So he goes, okay, coach. He's taking it. He's a little cavalier about it, as if the God of War and I were partners. He goes out. He's walking like at 2 a.m. from his girlfriend's house. Two guys are walking down the street, and they pause, and he pauses, and they know there's something up, and they're back like this, and they separate a little bit, and he goes, "What's up, guys?" And they go, "Give us your fucking wallet." And they don't have a weapon. It's just 2 of them, but it's pitch black on the way to a bus stop. He puts up his hands. He goes, "Guys, let's not do this." And they put up their hands. They go, "Give us your fucking wallet." And they start to move in. Well, his first move is a roundhouse kick to the head. The first guy, his hands come up and take it. The other guy jumps in, body shots, Gary. He goes down on the ground. They kick the shit out of him and mug him. How do I find out about this? You're going to love this. I expect to hear the famous Zach laugh. He misses his private lesson the next day. He misses his private lesson. I leave a couple of messages. I go, dude, you know, you didn't cancel 24 hours. I'm charging you for this. You know, call me. What's up? 2 days go by. I go, hey, anyone here from Gary? I call his buddy. No, I can't reach him. He calls, he was classing on Monday. On Wednesday, he calls me. He slept for almost 36 hours because they beat the shit out of him, pissing blood. I mean, just put the boots to him with steel-toe construction boots, beat the shit out of him. He tells me the story. He calls me up. He goes, hey, coach, sorry I missed my class. I got beaten up. I go like this, Zach. You know, he goes, I got beaten up. I'm going, I go, Gary, you know what? I've heard my mom asked me to go shopping. I had to take my sister to ballet. My car wouldn't start. I've heard every fucking excuse in the world. I've never heard anyone call their self-defense coach and say the reason I missed my class is because somebody beat me up on the way to my class. You know, like, that's great. I'm not charging for it because that's the most creative excuse I've ever heard. You're in. You know. He goes, no, I'm serious. I got beaten up. And then he tells me the story. Well, he comes in. We sit down. He tells me what's happening. I said, first of all, dude, you know, what kind of awareness was that you only saw it at 10, 12 feet out? And then why would you betray the element of surprise by taking a fighting stance?
Right.
You just let them know that they know. Why didn't you diffuse your vision? Why didn't you cross the street? Why didn't you look for an improvised weapon, an escape route, you know, and so on and so forth? And then your first kick, dude, roundhouse head kick to the head. Why didn't you feign fear? We got a whole bunch of strategies. Why didn't you hit a submissive posture? Why didn't you, fake handing your wallet to somebody, line up somebody's nuts, line up somebody's knees, line up somebody's throat? You're in the middle of nowhere. It's probably going to get violent. So and I'm not telling people, and I want to tell this to your audience here, this isn't about being a tough guy. It's not about being cavalier. It's not about being vigilante. It's your property. It's your body or your life. There's only three things bad guys want. You got to trust your instincts and your intuition. And when you combine those two eyes, instincts and intuition, you'll make an intelligent choice. But you can't fixate and you can't have some movie visual of what you're going to do. So I explained to him, I say, listen, where did this happen again? It was in a remote part out in the suburbs where his girlfriend lives. I said, you're still seeing her, right? He says, yeah, it happened last week. I said, okay. I said, listen, there's a good chance you're going to bump into these guys again because where it was kind of like a rural suburbia. And if you're taking the bus and you're doing that stuff, I mean, clearly this is the guy's MO, right? You know, like people walk into. I said, if you bump into them again, dude, and you have to fight again, don't fight your last fight. Fight your next fight, right? And I said, you don't betray the element of surprise. You need to, in your own way, ambush the ambush by being aware. Oh, fuck, here we go. By trusting your instincts and intuition. And for those people thinking about fear, you're going to be shitting your pants. Your heart is going to be pounding. Or you're going to have auditory exclusion. You're not going to hear anything but your heart. Your palms are going to be sweaty. Your whole, and this is your physiological system, your body's survival system, getting ready for danger. And it's preparing you. And if you embrace that, no one ever told me that shit. You learn it. You know, when you're having trouble breathing, when you're breathing really fast, you know, what you're doing is you're getting a lot more oxygen through your system. There's a balance between breathing hard and hyperventilation, but you get tunnel vision, you get auditory exclusion, and freaks people out until you realize, you know, this is my body's survival system doing its work. It's bypassing cognition. Anyways, a week later, Gary is at a McDonald's. I know it's a long story, but it's got a happy ending. Gary's at a McDonald's with his girlfriend in this rural town. And he never saw the guy's faces. It happened so fast, he told me. But all of a sudden, he said, I heard a voice and I broke into a cold sweat, right? When they were beating the shit out of him, he was on the ground in a fetal position. They were laughing and talking to each other. Fucking kick him, get him. And he remembered the voices. And he heard the voices and he looked over and he looked down and he saw the boots because he remembers the boots coming at him. And he knew it was them. He stopped eating. He lost his appetite right away. And he, like a robot, like Manchurian Candidate, boom, you know, he just turned and he looked at his girlfriend and he said, get in the truck. He walks outside and he was like 17 years old at the time and, you know, going through that punk ass age. I never smoked a cigarette, but he was smoking a cigarette. He opens up cigarettes and he stands outside in the shadows of McDonald's. He waits 15 minutes for them to walk outside. And as they walk out, he steps up blows some smoke in their face. They look up at him. He flicks the cigarette at one. Their hands come up. He punches one guy in the throat, and the guy goes back like this. His buddy's like going, what the fuck? He kicks the other guy in the balls. He doubles over, grabs him by the hair, knees him, and grabs their wallet, takes back his money that they stole, just the exact amount. It was like $80. And and that's why I hesitated. Do I tell that? Because like retroactive violence is illegal, everybody. That's not the way you play. It's illegal. It'll get you in trouble. I'm using this story as a metaphor for somebody 1 week apart had an experience and then had another fight. I was telling people, even if you fight the same guy the next week, it's a different fight. So you always need to be thinking about your next fight. And so the evidence here for us is when we talk about the knockout game, it's not going, how does my boxing help me there? How does my Thai boxing help me there? It's how does my Krav Maga help me there? It's not about style, it's about behavior. It's about how do I change the game? I don't want to be the player in this game. How do I get way to the left of the ambush? And so we come back to the philosophical question, Zach, is are you training for your last fight or your next fight? You need to move ahead. As the news says, this is happening now. You change your reticular cortex. You think about escape routes, improvised weapons. And if stuff comes up, listen, if you go, that was a great podcast, but I don't even know how to fucking throw a palm strike well, guess what? Now you've identified, like if somebody listens to one of your podcasts and goes, you know what? I've been doing shit with the shake weight, right? Right? The shake weight, right? And the shake weight. You never seen that?
Somebody posted a video on our buddy Ryan Williams' Facebook.
Okay, so someone listens to your stuff and they realize, you know what? I'm not strong. I'm just like, I've been doing shake weight, right? And so if you suddenly realize I want to start lifting heavy, and you got rocks around, and you need to like log on to YouTube and go, how do I pick up heavy shit and not screw up my back and my knees and my neck, right? So there is a logical progression of, do I need some technique or some training? Do I seek out a mentor? Do I take so someone might listen to this and go, that's great, but if I see it coming and I start to move and shift and they still come towards me, what do I do there? Well, left foot, right foot, left foot, right. That's the Nike Kung Fu system. You run. But if you have to fight and you're cornered, just fight. People just fight. And if you go, that's not enough, well, then you go to your MMA gym, your boxing gym, this becomes, responsibility, your ability to respond, you peel the onion and you get to your next step if it's important to you.
Yeah, it's so this is a good segue because originally CrossFit was just fitness. It was just training, and then the training evolved, and they had more kind of like specialists go in. They have the CrossFit striking course. They brought you on board, CrossFit defense. So they're tying everything together. Let's first talk about, because we have a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs listening or watching this podcast. So I want to talk about, you travel a lot. You're in your late 50s. You're in great shape.
Whoa. Early 50s.
Early 50s. You're 50.
Easy.
You're 51. You're 51, 53. And I just think it's interesting because when I travel, I feel like shit. And I know when you travel a lot, but you're always finding a way to get a workout done in the hotel, in your hotel room. You're always getting it done. I'm sure that people can take care of themselves, on the street somewhat if they're not, in a very great fitness level. But why do you feel now that this kind of blend, of being fit, how does basically CrossFit carry over to you being able to take care of yourself in, I'd like to say, situations when the shit hits the fan? Because, I texted you also not long ago about somebody who did really approach me, and I learned from, my lesson 21 years ago about how I should behave, about paying attention to their hands, about body language and all that stuff. And I know that I would not have been ready if I wasn't exposed to the kind of training I'm following now, to listening to you and learning from you. But how does fitness play into being ready when the shit hits the fan?
This is interesting. Fitness is it's like having a tuned car with lots of torque, lots of engine, and you're driving around, and you know that if you need to get somewhere fast or get away from something fast, it's there for you. And so, to me, and why I say that is, listen, we always make the joke: elite fitness doesn't guarantee your personal safety. There's a lot, there's a lot to learn about the situational awareness and how to move. I also want to say this, that, real fights happen in the space of a phone booth, and real fights last 20 seconds, and that's if we're swearing for 10 seconds, So when shit happens, like, what's the length of the sucker punch of the knockout game fight? It's a second and a half.
Yeah.
Right. And if you see people squaring off, or somebody, saying, hey, give me your wallet, boom, and then a shot comes in, like, people go, oh man, like, this was going on for like 10 minutes. Well, when they came to blows and you hear this sound, skin hit on skin, the fight's done in 2-3 seconds, depending on what's happening. It can go a little bit longer, it can go a little bit shorter. It's not here to get like anal and scientific and dogmatic about the actual length of the fight. What we're talking about is the actual big bang moment when things come to blows is very fast and very short. So, you can be completely out of shape and defend yourself. Everybody here, everyone in the world can fight for 10 seconds, 20 seconds anaerobically, so we start moving into like a Franish Metcon. So here's the thing: is like a CrossFitter is predisposed to win their fight by virtue of the engine that they're building. CrossFitters are predisposed to win their fight because WODs are scary if you're doing them with the right intensity.
Right, I think that's a big one.
The adaptations, my mentor and good friend Greg Glassman, said that the greatest adaptation of CrossFit occurs between the ears.
Right.
So what people don't realize, and what we do in our CrossFit Defense program, is bring this all together to show people how the CrossFit lifestyle, the CrossFit ritual, the CrossFit modality predisposes you to be that much more mentally tough, where you're analyzing, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, that's going to be scary, that's going to suck here. And so you're understanding strategy and movement, you're understanding prep and mindset, you're understanding fear management. The psychological adaptation there makes you mentally tougher. What it doesn't do is tell you, how do I get out of a headlock? What it doesn't tell you is, now I'm walking down the street, I make a joke, I go, that's all great, but imagine if you walked up to your barbell, and as you were walking up, the barbell said, hey, what the fuck you think you're doing, you piece of shit? I mean, like, if the barbell could talk, everyone's PR would go down, right? Chad Vaughn, wouldn't be doing his frickin' snatch in slow motion if the plates and the barbell went, you're not moving us today, dude, right? Because you'd be going, what the fuck was that? Did you guys hear that, right? So it's when things get in our head that our performance gets affected. I've been CrossFitting since 2006. And Coach Glassman and myself, talked about it, because the philosophical synergy between CrossFit of constantly varied functional movement performed at high intensity, unknown and unknowable, is what the whole SPEAR system was about. We changed every workout. We would say stuff like, hey, you don't know when your next fight's going to be. You don't know who it's going to be, how many opponents, how long it's going to last. So you can't have a favorite move. You got to learn all these different moves, right? Well, that is less elegant CrossFit speak, right? You got to be, the whole startle flinch of pushing away danger is the body's physiological response to a surprise attack, which is a more complex way to say being prepared for the unknown and the unknowable. I want a Hicks law compliant modality. Hicks was a scientist who did a stimulus response studies on humans, and identified the basic premise that if you have one stimulus and one stimuli, one response, that was the fastest human response time. So when you have like a choice of, if he does this, I can do this. If I do this, I can do this. And you have all these choices, that slows down the brain reaction time. And that's what we don't want. We want a fast reaction time. Here we go. So I'm off on one of my tangents. What's the question again, sir?
So, question is, I mean, you essentially answered it. That
you know, so okay, yeah. I mean, and dialing, like looping back around to the CrossFit Defense thing is, being part of the community, and you've been around it a bunch. You've been invited in. Your friends, you spoke at one of the affiliate gatherings. It's an amazing community. And so I fell in love with the community. I felt in a recent interview, I said, I was always kind of that lone wolf doing my own shit. Nobody understood what I did. And then when I got involved in CrossFit, I felt like I was this orphan that was finally in a home with a bunch of other people, and I felt like I was part of a family. And so that was kind of really neat and really cool. And they embraced what I was doing. There wasn't the Roadhouse line, oh, I thought he'd be taller. Nobody gave a shit, because CrossFitters in general want to learn new movements. They want to be challenged. They want to do stuff. So so it was really cool and a lot of fun. And when given the opportunity through Dave and Nicole to, hey, really launch this, let's go. We did a year of beta testing through we called it Be Your Own Bodyguard, and then we morphed it almost a year ago into CrossFit Defense. And what we've done is, it's not a martial art course. If you have a fascination and love for martial arts, or you want to compete and stuff like that, CrossFit Defense isn't for you. But here's the neat thing: is if you are a sport or you are a lifelong martial artist, you may not be as prepared for the street as you think you are. So in other words, you could flip back and still do the CrossFit Defense, because we go over the whole awareness, fear management block, and then we use simple movements. For example, putting on your seatbelt. Every time I'm driving my car, I forgot my seatbelt, I see a cop, and I reach like this to grab my seatbelt. That motion of reaching for your seatbelt is a horizontal elbow. Somebody's choking you, and I scream, put your seatbelt on, and you're like, get your fucking seatbelt on, and you go, seatbelt, and you do that. That elbow is going to open up that motherfucker, right? Because where's their head if they're choking you? It's right here. So, someone goes, oh, that's like, a spider on your back, or you got like a bead of sweat that's just hanging out on the middle of your back, and you go, fucking shit, and you do that. Well, that movement, the range of motion and the trajectory is a vertical elbow. Grab your seatbelt, scratch your back, and so there's all these movements. If you every time you tie a shoe, I don't know if you can see this over here. Can you see me here?
Yeah.
No. So if I go like this and I go, hey, let's go running, and I tie my shoe like this, that's opening and closing your hips, right? So knees to elbows, mountain climbers. Those are all the exact same movements as kneeing somebody, right? So, if you're up in a clinch and I go, hey, do some mountain climbers now, dude. Mountain climbers, suddenly you're kneeing this guy in front of you in the balls and the legs. So we're showing movements that CrossFitters and athletes do all the time. They've got the muscle memory. They got the synaptic link between, I'm going to move my body like this. They understand, the range of motion and angles. And we're showing its application as a core to extremity explosiveness for the fight. What's missing is the violence of action, And so what we do is we do that through a whole bunch of really cool, neat proprietary drills in the class with med balls and partners, where we're teaching people how to do that more aggressively with less ballet-like fluidity as they would if they're trying to have an efficient time in a WOD.
Right. Let's talk about, so you got for those of you that are listening and not watching, we could see Tony's garage gym. Talk to us. Yeah, this gym is pretty legit. Talk to us about some of the workouts that you go through. Your wife. And does Nicky train here? Does he train at another CrossFit gym? Where does he train?
Yeah, so Nicky B is he trains here. He teaches out of here too.
Nice.
And he's teaching out of some CrossFit boxes, in the area. Still cutting his teeth. I keep urging him, get out there, get out there. So he's doing that. He was just up at Coach Bergner's last week with his partner in crime, Blake, and they went up there, and if you check out, he just did a 200-pound snatch, and considering I think he's maybe 175, I was pretty impressed.
That's
so
awesome.
He's been getting mentored by one of Bergner's guy, Jason from Offshore CrossFit. He's been training there for about a year, and so he's doing good. So we've got pretty much everything in here.
Reverse hyper, glute hand bench, stones, beautiful power rack, rowers.
Gun safe.
Yes, need one of those.
Absolutely useless because it's locked. So I gotta beat up the bad guy, hold him down while I punch in the code. So we've got pretty much all you need.
Bikes, rings.
Lots of them. We'll get a pull-up bar over there, pull-up bar over there. This is my favorite. I'm so short. This is my rope that I use for climbing. It goes up there.
Yeah, but those are great. We have, in our first gym, it's like low ceiling, so we just climb from the butt, no legs.
From the floor, yeah.
Yeah, those are actually tough. So do you program your own stuff, or do you just say, you know what, somebody else write me workouts? How do you create your workouts?
I program some cool WODs, and I post them on Instagram.
Yep.
And I've had people go, I'm going to do that. And I was like, holy shit, that was cool. Because I had no idea what I was doing, but obviously I do. It's basically, I'm a CrossFitter, so it's push, pull, and figure out shit. You plug in stuff there. And it's, it's like, if we're fighting and your head's covered, I'm going to go to your legs. If your legs are covered, I'm going to go to your head, right? So it's up, down, it's up, down. It's easy to figure out, how to do some stuff. But being part of the CrossFit family, which I'm honored and flattered to be, both not just as a subject matter expert for them, I have the luxury of being able to, as you do, interface with some awesome legendary coaches. So very often I'll go, hey man, I've been eating like shit for a week. I need to punish myself with a fat burning WOD, and I'll email Brian McKenzie and he'll send me some sick endurance WOD, and I'll be like, oh man, I wish I hadn't sent that text. And so so I've had the scariest workout I ever did was up at Coach Glassman's house up in Santa Cruz. Imagine having the founder of CrossFit standing. You ever see that picture of him watching Nicole do a muscle up? And he's just standing there like this. So he's like standing there in the Greg Glassman pose. I'm at elevation, rowing in his garage. I'm dying, and I'm like, maybe I've gone like 50 meters or 60 meters. My heart's pounding. That's my fight, right? I'm nervous. It was funny, but I've had. Like everybody, and listen, CrossFit has come so far in the last 5 years that somebody who's interested in it can find their favorite sites and go, borrow the programming. And that's one thing that's inspired me so much about CrossFit is how open source they are with the methodology. They're from day one have shared how to do the movements, from their animated GIFs and pictures to, move into flip phones to, now everything's like high def, super slow, bazillion-dollar camera shit doing stuff. So you can it started in a garage, and you could almost, full circle now do it in the garage. But I will tell people this: getting to your gym, getting to a good box, you find a place with a good coach and a good atmosphere, and there's nothing like that. I work my ass. I got a lot of discipline. I bust my ass in here. There's a lot of times where, I'm on the ground after my workout and there's nobody looking, right? And then there's times when, I finish the workout and I'm like this. And I remember teaching Nicky when he was a little boy, some fighting shit, some fitness shit, and we're doing like this push-up interval thing, and he's like on the ground, and he's going, Dad, I can't do any more push-ups. I said, if you can still talk, you can do another one. The energy it took you to say that sentence, you could have cranked out a half, and no, I'm done. I'm not, he's like, 7 years old or something, right? But it's the
mindset. It's like you got the right mindset.
And it comes back to that. You need to decide right now, I'm going to protect myself, my family. Then you got to ask yourself, what do I need to learn, or what do I need to do? Because it might just not be a light switch for you. You need to decide, hey, I'm motivated by this guy, Zach in the underground. I want to be an animal. I want to be that strong. And then, all you have are, let's see if I have them, all you have is like this in your apartment. It's not happening, right? You need to go to the gym, or you need to buy some. Nobody saw these. I don't have these weights. You know what I'm saying? Like when the mindset makes the decision, but then the next step is what's the plan, and then what's the equipment necessary, And I will tell people this, to dial it back to self-defense, talked about it a lot. You are a human weapon. Every person is a human weapon. There are more people who defend themselves every day with no training whatsoever than there ever will be trained people who get attacked and defend themselves. I wrote that in 1985 in an article for Insight Karate. There are more people who defend themselves every day through sheer will and indignation than there ever will be trained people who get attacked and defend themselves. So what are those people doing? They're just saying no. They're tapping into their indignation and they're moving. If I threw a ball at you, you'd catch it. Well, a ball and a head are the same. Somebody grabs you, grab their head. You ever go to a market and you want to check if a melon is ripe, right? You don't have to go to like a Shaolin monastery to learn finger drills. Grab somebody's head like a fucking melon and stick your finger in their eye. Watch them flinch, watch them grimace, claw their face, put on your seatbelt, scream, bite. Biting is awesome in self-defense. It's paleo.
It's like I hope that I really hope that this stuff gets across to the right people. And I don't want, I know that we spoke about some instances that happened to me. We're speaking about things that are happening on a regular basis. I know a lot of people that follow this, they are family men, family women, so they have families, which means you need to be ready and you need to be physically strong, mentally strong. And that's why I love what CrossFit does, because like what you said, you learn to act even when you're nervous, and I've learned the hard way that, hey man, nerves shut people down, and I've seen it with athletes that if they, if the nerves get in the way, it can literally just halt your ability to move, to perform. So it's the mindset. How many days a week are you training? Even if you're traveling, what do you train? How many days a week?
There was I just went to the East Coast, where you live, living in SoCal. And so I went from 70-degree weather to 32, and I did not pack properly. And I just got over
you told me
some little flu bug. So typically if I get sick, I won't train, but otherwise I try as best I can to do something every day. And that doesn't always work out depending on where I am. But, every hotel room, I've got a little ritual I do, for my low back and my shoulders, and, a little downward dog and some stretching and some deep squats and, but, there's no excuse not to bang out, even if you're in a room 100 push-ups and 100 squats and just to fire up, even if it's just to say, I just did a trip to England, and I worked out every single day. I went to different boxes. I trained, I taught, and it was the best thing I ever did. It helped me acclimate to the jet lag. Because I'll tell you what, that endorphin release especially if in the back of your head, you're also trying to find an excuse. You're trying to do it, but you're going, if it doesn't work out, I'll get one in tomorrow, right? And then you do it and you go, there's not only the workout, but there's this goal gratification. I tell people all the time, what do you want tomorrow to be for you? What do you want that experience to be? And write that down. And, this isn't new. I mean, people talk about that, but there's something magic of if you write down, get up, and everyone jokes, you see it all over Instagram, get up, be awesome, repeat, but hey, let's dial that in a little bit more. Did you, so if you wrote down, I got to call my mom, I got to clean my room, I got to, I want to write a blog. I've been meaning to write the blog on the knockout game for about a week, because I've had people emailing me, how would you handle this? What do you do? Coach B, what do you know? And I finally on Saturday said, I'm going to just do it. And I spent several hours doing it. And when it was finished, I was like, yeah, oh yeah. So it wasn't like that was that mental workout. And so doing a physical workout, doing a mental workout, and that physical and mental workout can be part of that goals list. And when you cross that shit off and you do it, there's an emotional, psychological, and a physical gift that you get in accomplishing a goal, no matter how small you think it is.
Yeah, this is when you and I met at Phil Fest in Miami. This is actually what Tanya, what's her last name, Wagner? She was she was talking about this. She was talking about, listen, when you start, you guys are all coaches. You run your own gym now. You're gonna start getting kind of, quote unquote, too busy to work out. She said, I always have a go-to workout. She said, or I'll warm up with that last class, so I'm ready to go. As soon as everybody checks out, boom, I'm gonna bang out, deadlifts and double unders. But this sounds crazy for people listening to me, but I'm big on scheduling. Sunday night, I schedule my Monday through Wednesday, and I'll lock down the time for training. I block it out on a planner. It sounds nuts because you say to yourself, if you don't have that locked in and you're a busy person, well, I'll do it when this happens, As soon as you sit down and start to work, man, a million things, shit just starts happening. And then time is gone. I'm a big believer in you got to block that time out to make it happen. Let's close this out with some life lessons that you've learned as a businessman. Life lessons that you learned as a businessman that made you better at running a business, better at being a family man because you travel a lot. You're running your business. It has multiple aspects to your business. You also do a lot. I mean, you consult with military, law enforcement, CrossFit community. You have so much going on. What is a big lesson that you've picked up that you'd love to share with people that you learned from, business?
Ironically, while you were saying that, I'm like, shit, what am I going to say? I mean, there's so many things. Don't hire douchebags. Don't hang out with douchebags. Fire douchebags. What have I learned? There are two things. One is you need to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. You need to feed off people's energy and creativity, and you can't do shit yourself. It's got to be a team. But I will tell you what comes back to me over and over while you were saying that is, and it took me years. I went through some real ups and downs. With some business ventures that I was involved with 4 or 5 years ago in Virginia Beach. And I had stopped working out because I was so stuck in the bullshit, the legal, the production, the legal, all the, who's doing what, the micromanaging and all that. And I'd stopped working out, and all of my injuries from years of martial arts just started activating. And so when you said, what is the biggest thing you learned about business and everything, about family, what came to mind, it was so simple, and you're going to love this, is you got to work out. Your body's your temple. That if you don't feel right about yourself, you can't handle your kids teething. You can't handle this problem at work. You can't handle this employee. You can't handle this change in the market. You need to be in shape, and if you have a good workout that emotionally, psychologically, and physically tunes you up properly, you can handle any shit. I mean, literally, that's the way it is. And when I say any shit, I'm being philosophical. But before Google and the internet, if we were Spartans and any shit was invaders. I mean, if you weren't in shape and if you weren't training, you were done. Probably not a good example because all the Spartans were killed, but you get the point.
Gotta stay strong, and you gotta stay committed to the training and team. Awesome. All right, Tony B, let's tell everybody, let's give people a couple places where they could connect with you if they're listening. And those of you that want to get these, I'll also link up Tony's info on his websites, Facebook, Twitter. He's active on Twitter, Instagram. I'll link all that stuff up on the blog. but give them a couple places they could reach out and connect with you and ask you some questions.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter and Instagram, I'm on there all the time, and I love interfacing with any of the people out there. I love social media for that. It makes the world a lot smaller. But if you're in the tactical law enforcement military training, go to our main website, TonyBlauer.com. If you're part of the CrossFit community, go to our CrossFit Defense website, real simple, CrossFitDefense.com. And if you're a self-defense instructor looking for, insight into our research, PDRteam.com, and otherwise just hit me up on Twitter and Insta.
Nice. I think you need to start doing some video blogs a little more often, so you don't have
I want to. So when we finish this, you got to send me information on how to do all this stuff. I've been meaning to do it for only like 5 years, but I've been busy working.
I think you got to bang it out because you're so driven by the fitness and the training. That's like your base. That my best ideas always come when I'm training. So if I'm training, I'm getting hyped up. I feel like I kind of I'm like the Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk, and I get so much more passionate when I train. That's like my opportune time to bust out some quick videos. I think you definitely need to do that right there in the garage. It would be great. But that's it, dude. That's all the time we've got. We banged out an hour. I hope a lot of you guys really picked up on this. In a nutshell, you guys need to take care of yourself physically, and you've got to make the decision to be aware, and then from there to protect yourself, and you got to educate yourself. So connect with Tony, and we're going to link that up. And those of you guys listening, spread the word about STRONGCast, and that's what this is about: strong body, strong mind, and like you just said, a strong life. So thanks again, everybody, from undergroundstrength.tv. Peace out, guys. Yeah. Feel like that. Bang. Yeah. Bang. Bang. Come on. Bang.